two most cost efficient areas are, of course, SEO and SEM, and then also in Facebook, Instagram, because you can spend very little to constantly test and optimize. The most efficient use of money is always cost per lead, which is to acquire email addresses. And once you have that email address, that's when your content becomes critical and your email system becomes critical.
So Jessica, I'm a big fan of you. I've seen your journey. I really personally, I just say I know what you've done. And actually, that was a great example of you made a name which was not a brand name, right? Now you're working around brands, which is much easier. Yeah. But that time, I think you've really taken and made a name, with digital marketing. And those were before Insta and TikTok days, right? So you were, you did all the SEO first, and then the newsletters and all that stuff. So I think what I really want to talk about is a look back in 2022. What were the lessons you learned? And what are some 5 or 6, in your holiday, you had some strong takeaways, right? Some diary, 5 things I really learned from and 5 things that worked for me. So let's start there.
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. It's such a pleasure. And I'm trying to reflect back on my holiday and it went too fast. We'll just put it that way. So 2022 was a really fascinating year. I have been in digital for a very long time, probably when you were in elementary school. I started out in the late 90s, and it has changed so much. It truly has. There was an inflection point in, I would say, 2010 to 2014 when the acquisition of Instagram by Facebook, et cetera. Facebook started getting much bigger. Snapchat came online. E-commerce became a little more sophisticated, but still not totally there. In 2022, the disruption that has a positive result of COVID in terms of what has happened in digital has completely changed the game for everybody. We all live online now. We just do. And the mediums in which customers are getting information digitally are not the same as what they were in 2010 or even the late 90s. So we always think as Facebook and Instagram and, we're thinking social, just general social media influencers, et cetera. But really what's happening is that you're seeing just a fracturing of media all over the place in digital. So TikTok, of course, is huge, and lots of big campaigns are being delivered through TikTok, but you're also seeing the metaverse. You're seeing, Twitter, even though all the crazy stuff going on with Twitter has been kind of crazy, it is also now becoming a more campaign-oriented digital media system. And so you see the delivery of this content in all these different areas. And as a marketer, you're just oh my God, where do I send my message? Where do I optimize my message? How should I be optimizing my message? And so I think 22 is everything's changing. I need to be okay with this. And I need to go back to the days of the beginning, which was experimentation, not just put all my money into one place, but really actually put a little money against everything and see what works great for your brand.
So in 2023, you're planning more of small deployments in many areas, and then doubling down on what you're measuring, what's working and whatnot, right?
It's a lot more work, to be fair, but digital is changing. There isn't a clear winner anymore. During COVID, it was definitely Facebook, Instagram, everybody was going there. TikTok was just developing. Twitter still had kind of a hold just on general media and general news. You also had SEO, the general SEM. But with 3.5 million new merchant sites just developed over COVID, everyone is trying to get a piece. And so we've realized that, and all these different new ways to talk to a customer digitally have presented themselves. There isn't one just way anymore. It's not Facebook and forget it, Instagram and forget it. Like you have to be open to everything, including your own website.
It's very hard to measure and call it a quits, or you just don't know. You pumped money, you're going in, and sometimes literally you see zero sale, like zero, like, I'm talking about the small and medium brands when they don't have, let's say, Bevmos and Total Wines stacking their wines. So, they just don't get any other sort of ROI. They have to sell from their add to cart, right? Like the direct online sale has to happen, and they just don't see it. How do you advise them to start, like with let's say a $5,000 budget? What can a small to medium sized winery do in 2023?
So there is a distinction. If the winery actually has a physical space, then the strategy would be completely different. So you would be very focused on geo-targeting and bringing customers to your tasting room where the conversion will happen. Right? I mean, that's really what you're trying to do, is get customers to your tasting room so that there you can establish a relationship, get their email information, and begin their journey. Right?
Got it.
If it is a brand that doesn't have a physical space, then what you really want to be focused on is putting your brand out there digitally, both in just general media, so digital media, display advertising, based on kind of what consumers are searching for, based on what your product value is, like whatever it is that you stand for, whatever your story is. You want to be buying ads against that. And, the most, the two most cost efficient areas are, of course, SEO and SEM. And then also in Facebook, Instagram, because you can spend very little to constantly test and optimize. And the objective, the most efficient use of money is always cost per lead, which is to acquire email addresses. And once you have that email address, that's when your content becomes critical and your email system becomes critical. That's really the most efficient way to connect with the customer and to get them to convert.
So aiming for a direct case buy online is not the right idea. Maybe the right idea is get the email and then send a nice newsletter and get the journey started.
Well, I mean, it just depends. If you're doing a cost per lead campaign, and let's say you're incentivizing a customer to give your email, to give them their email address. So you are basically saying, if you give me your email address, I will give you X. And so that really does begin the journey in one way or another. The other way is, and this is an area that I'm spending a lot of time on, is what we call e-grocery, which is, for the Bevmo out there, for Instacart, for Molly, for Safeway. It's called the digital shelf, and telling your story about your product digitally. So let's say you're a small winery, small spirits company, small beer company. It really doesn't matter. You really need to make sure that if your retailer is carrying you, if they have an online presence and they are spending money on their, what we call their .com, on their e-commerce, you absolutely need to make sure that the information about your product you are controlling. This is very different than what it was in the past. In the past, wholesalers used to take information from you in a spreadsheet and then give it to the retailer. It's not like that anymore at all. In fact, you actually provide the information to the retailer. You can syndicate, you can publish it to their website if you want. There's lots of software out there that will allow you to do that. You can do it through your distributor if you want, but controlling that content is super critical.
And I think that can help you with the inbound link strategy as well, and many other things, or to deploy one campaign across if you have a close relationship with the retailers?
Yeah. I mean, once you make sure that your digital shelf, like think of it as your physical shelf, right? You're putting all those neckers or, like a card on the shelf. It's the same idea, right? Which is your product display. And in that product display, you want to make sure you have as many reviews as possible. You want to make sure that the content is super rich, that it tells a story. Then also with your SEM and your SEO, what you want to do is drive your customer geographically to that retailer. If your goal is to move cases out the door of that particular retailer, right? So based on your current list and that geography, you buy lookalikes and you send customers over to the retailer's website to your product to purchase your product.
When we were knocking doors, we used to carry shelf talkers, sales sheet, the standard things, right? So like digitally, when you're asking Bev more Total Wine to, hey, list this week, what are the digital assets you need to have in your briefcase, like a clean bottle shot, for example? What are those 5 or 6 items you think a digital brand officer should have for their brand?
So, it's what we call A+ content, which is, a clean bottle shot, a really good lifestyle shot, a video, something that tells a story within 30 seconds, not more than 30 seconds. Content has to be super clear. Description has to evoke real information. And obviously pricing does matter. You want to make sure that you're on the correct shelf, filtered correctly, searched correctly for a customer. So you want to make sure that keywords are associated correctly when it is displayed on your retailer's website as well.
Back on the wineries in-house, e-shop, what are the tips you can give, for optimizing their landing pages, where you've done all, I'm sure, analysis at this level, like crazy egg to all the data to user patterns, right? So like 5 or 6 pointers where to place like shop now button or use word like add to cart. Just throw us like good learnings that you have.
So in like a good action-oriented product display page, so that's basically after the customer has already gone, let's say you have a campaign, you take them right to the product level page, right? Just about the product. You want your add to cart to be always a large button up on the right-hand side with your content on the left-hand side going all the way down. You always want to make sure that your action words are always in distinct, clear, tiled colors. Right. So sometimes like a really good example outside of the wine industry is Glossier. Glossier really brought to the fore like the bright blue color as an action color, right? So you would see shop now in bright blue. You would see, add to cart in bright blue. Anything that is about an action, you always want it highlighted in a color that suggests action, positive action, and movement. The second, big item is keep the content clear, limited, and focus on your visuals. Visuals are really what get customers to pay attention, and videos. And videos don't have to be highly produced. It can just be like on your iPhone, something short, something simple. Customers are trying to connect with you. And the digital medium is intended to bring them closer to you. And the way to bring them closer to you is to talk to them, not just in words, but to visually look at them.
I'm sure you need to add credibility as well, right? Like, as you say, maybe a winemaker can just do a raw video testimonial, or, what are some other ways to make sure that that relationship on that page is being built?
It goes without question, Sid, and you absolutely point this out, are customer reviews. Now, I know what you're saying is like, we should have scores, critic scores and publications. That's certainly important. But honestly, if a customer doesn't know who you are and they're just learning about you, they're more apt to listen and learn and read a review from a customer than they are from just a point score. And it's like hard to imagine, but just think of how you shop on Amazon and how you shop on sites that
True, like really Airbnb or any other things. Yeah.
You go right to the reviews and it matters. And so there's some, great SaaS systems now for small wineries, like, Shopify or Wine Direct. they make it very well. Wine Direct is adding this module, but Shopify, like it's just part and parcel of the system. It is literally, you cannot build a template that doesn't have a reviews module section. And it becomes so important in your digital marketing as well, in your outbound to customers, to remind them, hey, this person said this about the wine and this person said this about. It's just the conversion numbers on that are just extremely high compared to just a point score.
What are the things you do for the bounced customers? Let's say, some people just created the user account but did not purchase, or the half journey people. What kind of things do you do? How do you email them? What's the spiel? Hey, you were there on our website.
Yeah, I mean, so what you're talking about are people who come to visit and they leave, and we have an exit intent module that says you'll get 15% off if you give us your email address. And let's say they don't buy anything.
Yeah, that's one. Second is someone who did add to cart but did not complete the purchase.
Exactly. So that is an automate. That's any basic, very affordable email system. MailChimp, Klaviyo. There's so many out there. Constant Contact. You can build a customer journey automation that is all about the abandoned cart, right? Which is the customer puts the product in the cart, doesn't check out. You can specify within 4 hours, send an email that says, hey, you left this in your cart. Let's say they don't react to that. 12 hours later, you have another email that says, hey, we only have X amount left of this wine. Make sure you get it to your cart. And then you can also go 48 hours later and say, sorry, you missed out on this wine opportunity. And this is just one train of thought. Sorry, you missed out on this wine opportunity. We have some great other wines, and here is an additional discount for the future.
Is there a percentage you aim for, like 100 clicks on first buy now button to, there should be a 50% complete checkout? Like, is there a target that we can learn from you?
Obviously, every time a customer clicks on an add to cart and then checks out, the goal is frictionless checkout, right? I mean, the holy grail, quite frankly, is having frictionless payment systems, right? That's where really Shopify shines. It gets the customer in and out so quickly. It's one of the basic learnings of Amazon. The reason we all go back to it is because it's just so damn easy. And that same way of living and existing applies to your website, whether you're a small wine supplier or the largest wine supplier in the country. It matters. It truly matters, because a customer reflects on that experience, and that experience is reflected in how they view your brand.
3 or 4 areas which we all know, but you can go a little deeper into the platforms, like what to do on TikTok, what to do on LinkedIn, because I believe those 2 are the places. Other than that, any 3 or 4 attention assets you recommend?
Can you believe that you're saying LinkedIn as like a way to disseminate your message and advertising? I mean, did you think you'd ever say that 3 years ago?
No. True.
I mean, that's what's crazy. That is what is crazy. Like, there's just so many players coming in that are grabbing for your media dollars. So I would say that in terms of your 23 advertising, like, you absolutely want a TikTok campaign, but you have to be careful with those campaigns, because if you get influencers to work with you, it gets very, very expensive. The key to a great TikTok campaign is the visceralness and the feeling, right? And really showing like what it tastes like, or showing how it tastes good with other things, ingredients, recipes, ideas. That's what really works well on TikTok, especially challenges. If you're willing to do a challenge, challenges work super well. On LinkedIn, to be perfectly honest, I'm just learning the platform super well in terms of advertising. And I would say that where I'm seeing success really are in affinity groups, and focusing very much in those kind of like larger groups that reflect a lookalike customer to us, that are part of an industry initiative, People for Pinot, or I'm just making that up. that seems to be going really well for us. In terms of like general advertising throughout the year, I would say that Q1, Q2 are experimental, right? It's really about learning about what your customer is reacting to and what is making a difference, and also what's performing well for you, both in your winery, both online and with your retailer. Taking that information and then really developing out for the fall, beginning in August, and where you really should be spending most of your dollars. Really, I would say towards the end of August, going into September, and really October, November, December are going to be your most significant spends. Really looking at what you learned in the first 2 quarters and really applying a spend across the board that's really omnichannel, right? That is, if you are distributed to a retailer, look at Instacart, see if there are advertising opportunities on there to push forth your product. Look for advertising opportunities on Facebook and Instagram that link back to Instacart. There's so many ways that you can talk to a customer in all the different areas of digital influence that are not insanely expensive because you're not doing it in one place.
I think it's a lot of math. I'm sure you are expert in. So I'm trying to figure out, like, when a math person is talking in a meeting with Bev More Total Wine, you can really tell them that, hey, do this program and I'll make sure depletions will happen, right? Like, because you're going to be very smart about that ad spend.
Yes. I mean, it really, that is a big part as well, which is, now more than ever with your wholesalers. I mean, they have to think digital. And so arming them with information about how you can support them and how you can support the retailer digitally matters. It truly matters. And this also means that your website has to be awesome. Right. So if you are, and it doesn't mean it has to be a great e-commerce site. It just has to be a site that tells a story about your brand. And that's one thing I would say to any of your small to medium sized players, which is if they are heavily focused on wholesale distribution, this does not mean that they can avoid having a good website about their brand.
I think in your case, you have many wineries, you have many brands, so the whole ecosystem of that email address has a different kind of value, right? Like you can cross-sell, upsell, this and that. So let's go back on the KPIs or some metrics on, what do you define as win? Like, some people just, as I said before, is just pure sale, but some maybe are happy with the email. Some you're in your case, maybe you're measuring how many estates or how many brands they're mingling with, in particularly your case, 3 or 4 metrics that you yourself pay very close attention to in your role.
It's probably different than what you think of, but for me, I mean, my title is growth and experience is in there for a reason, because we value experience, and experience translates into customer loyalty. So I am measured on the quality of experience a customer is having with our brand. Our objective is to excite and delight. That's really what it is, whether it's on our website, in our tasting rooms, at our retailer's physical shelf or retailer's digital shelf. Our goal is always to deliver to our customers not just value, but excitement, something that's special, something that's unique.
So,
and that's how I am
one second, Jessica. So you mean depletions at retail is also your responsibility?
Not direct, but really, I would say more of the brand reflection and how customers are experiencing
the perception of the brand, basically.
Yeah, definitely. From a digital viewpoint. So I'm actually not creating the brand narrative, but my job really is to make sure that the brand narrative is connected digitally to the customer. And that when they enjoy the product, that wherever they turn in their digital journey, they're having an amazing experience that is reflecting back on the product.
Got it. So all direct sales for sure, like the cellar door and the direct online and all that for sure is your repeat. Yes. From new to repeat is your responsibility, I believe.
That is correct. So, I mean, when Vintage acquired Cameron Hughes Wine in 2017, the total business for direct to consumer, with CHW being a significant portion, was about 30 million. And for FY22, which was for this past August, of course, we're on a financial year, we closed at over 100 million in direct to consumer.
That's, I mean, this grass is greener on the other side, right? It's so hard, like, to do direct to consumer. This is so hard, right?
It's so hard.
Yeah,
it's so hard. It's so hard, but it is. And you don't have to, like a lot of brands think that they have to do direct to consumer. They don't. They truly don't. But what they need to have is a website and a web presence that is reflective of the brand that they want customers to get to know. And I think that's kind of a new learning for a lot of new brands and new suppliers right now, which is everyone thought that they had to be strong in DTC. It's important if that is a business channel you want to go after. But what matters most, if you're going into wholesale distribution, you must have a strong digital presence. You must be accurate about who you are online.
Let's say, someone's in your team and, you are giving them a brand. Your objective is to, build seller door traffic, like foot traffic. What are the 5 things that you're telling that person to do?
So the first thing that I'm going to do is make sure that in the tasting room that we have software systems that get customers stickiness, right? So before I even try and drive customers to the tasting room, I want to make sure that the associates are armed with the ability to connect with customers in the tasting room immediately. For example, like, what did they think of the wine? Writing a digital review, talking about, what it is that they liked about the tasting room. So software that enables like both texting and linking and QR codes that take you to our website and or Google and or Yelp to post reviews and to post ratings, right? So making sure associates know how to use that. Then secondarily, in terms of advertising, I look at customers who have visited the site in the past, or customers that we want to talk to, and we geo-target them based on their visitations within Napa and Sonoma or wherever my tasting room might be. And that is a really effective way to get customers to come visit your tasting room. Because, for example, somebody might be visiting BR Cone, and they're like, I don't have another I don't have another winery to go visit. And so they're like in the tasting room and they're on their phone and they're, checking out ESPN. Well, wouldn't it be great if you had an ad that popped up about your winery that's 5 miles down the road?
True.
And that's all just retargeting.
All right. So second question, contextual marketing, I think, right? So one of the things which I face with my team personally is to explain again and again to create context, right? How when you're holding your team meeting about contextual marketing, how do you explain them, hey guys, this is what contextual marketing is?
Well, I mean, we think a lot in terms of a calendar, right? And kind of cadence, right? And kind of when are promotional times and when are off promotional times, and opportunistically connecting with a customer when they may have something to say versus something to buy. So it's always a delicate dance of making sure that the customer feels connected to the brand at the same time. Creating an opportunity for a customer to buy a product that is of value to them, using some type of promotional language, but also creating opportunities for the customer to, participate in the development of the brand. And that sounds really, really crazy, but contextually, it is kind of a new idea that I know you've heard me talk about customer first marketing and customer first, in which you allow the customer to really drive the sharing and referring.
So like more of polls,
information.
Asking questions, those kind of things?
Absolutely. Customers love to participate in the development of your brand and words that you're going to say. They also love to be recognized. And, we do lots of different types of opportunities where customers can submit pictures. They can submit moments that they've shared with friends where they're enjoying some of our products, and they can win, perhaps, a tasting at one of our wineries, or in some cases, they may win a special gift certificate. So we're always trying to create moments in which customers can connect in with us. We're not asking them to do anything. We're just saying, hey, this is who we are. If you'd like to share with us, please share with us, and you'd be amazed.